Hello everybody, it's your friendly neighbourhood Strasbourg here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at a guitar that I would consider a modern classic. A guitar that is incredibly popular and has had such long staying power, probably well beyond anyone ever thought. And that guitar is, of course, the Squire J Mascis Jazzmaster. Now this is a relatively recent purchase for me. It's a bit dusty, sorry. Probably should have cleaned it up a little bit beforehand. This guitar, I'm sure if you've been around the traps at any point, for any amount of time, you have seen this guitar in the hands of someone on YouTube or the hands of someone on stage even up to some of the biggest stages. And this guitar has gone on to have a life of its own far beyond any other signature model that I can really think of, except for maybe the fucking abomination that is the Silver Sky that came out recently. But yeah, I wanted to kind of talk about this guitar and ask the question, why is this guitar so popular, especially when so many other signature models don't tend to be? But first, let's go over the history and the specs of this guitar. So this guitar was released in 2011 and is the signature model of Dinosaur Jr. guitarist, vocalist, main guy J Mascis. If you know of Dinosaur Jr., they're grunge contemporaries, grunge forebearers even. I think they kind of started before the grunge thing blew up, and alt-rock icons. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of them, they're fine. It's not really my kind of music, but I've always appreciated Jay's guitar tone and his love of Jazzmasters. And so initially Fender released a Fender signature model for him, the infamous Purple Sparkle Jazzmaster, which has gone on to have a life of its own in its own right, and those guitars fetch crazy money on the used market today. That was in 2007, and then in 2011 they released the Squire version. And this guitar was in continuous production from 2011 all the way up to 2021. That is 10 years for a Squire signature model, because it was just that damn popular. And then in 2021, it was unfortunately discontinued for some unknown fucking reason. I don't know why the head honchos over at Fender and Squire would discontinue arguably one of their most popular models, not just a signature model, most popular models in general. But then in 2023, they brought it back and it's still in production till this day. So some important things to note about the specs. The main thing that has changed over the years is the fretboard material. Now, up until about 2017, 2018, the guitars had rosewood fretboards like this one here. But then in 2018, they switched to using Indian laurel fretboards. And this was because of the whole there was a lot of citations around rosewood. It became more difficult to use it. You know, there was I think there was a risk of it running out, even though the guitar industry makes up a tiny fraction of all wood that is chopped down and used in the world. But anyway, so everyone everywhere stopped using rosewood for a while, and it's still kind of difficult to get rosewood. So that was kind of the main change. But let's go over some of the other specs. You've got standard kind of Jazzmaster shaped body. I don't know, I can't remember what the fucking wood is. Basswood, poplar, something like that. You've got a maple neck, 25.5 scales long, scale inch, 25.5 inch scale length. Fuck me. 21 frets. I don't know what fret wire it is, maybe medium jumbo. You got, your standard 3-way toggle switch, tone and volume, and your rhythm circuit that no one fucking uses. You got the J Mascis signature on the back of the headstock. The previous owner put a sticker on there, God knows why. And then it's kind of like a vintage white is what they call the color. Got a Tune-o-matic bridge here instead of like your standard kind of Jazzmaster, not roller, I guess, like a kind of floating bridge. Not floating, I don't know. You know what a Jazzmaster bridge is like, a kind of rock back and forth a little bit. But Jay decided to fuck off with that and put this one in, I assume to help with intonation. I don't really know, but it's cool with me. And then your kind of standard Jazzmaster bridge vibrato system. We got 1 meg pots on the volume and tone and on the rhythm circuit, and that is important because vintage Jazzmasters and Jaguars, and even like Fender, like Telecaster Deluxes and stuff, a lot of them had 1 meg pots, and in order to get that kind of bright, chimey sound that you expect from these guitars, the 1 meg pots are often kind of important, and they're very often overlooked by a lot of people. Even Fender today, when they're making these guitars, they don't often put them in, but they're in this model, thankfully. Now, the pickups. These are a bit of a mystery to me. And it seems like a lot of other people, Fender on their website just lists them as like Jazzmaster pickups or J Mascis Jazzmaster pickups, but they're not the signature pickup set that he has that you can buy independently. Those are much closer to regular kind of Jazzmaster pickups. These are different. Now, I bought this one secondhand, right? And first of all, when the guy advertised it on Facebook Marketplace, he said it had a Indian Laurel fretboard, but I've checked the serial number, and as soon as I had a look at it in person, I was like, I feel like that's rosewood. And I kind of compared it to my guitars that I have here that have rosewood, and then checked the serial number. It's a 2017 model, so it has rosewood, so go me, I guess. But the other first thing I noticed when I plugged it in is how different these pickups sound. Now, I've had a Jazzmaster before, the Troy Van Leeuwen Jazzmaster that you may have seen on the channel. These pickups are not the same. They're they're way meatier, quite darker, bit higher output, got a lot more emphasis in the mid-range and less of that kind of bright, thin chime. And I was looking around online, and the kind of consensus is that they're actually probably just P90s, or at least a lot closer to P90s, which is really funny because so many people get Jazzmaster pickups and P90s wrong. So many people just assume Jazzmasters have P90s in them, which they don't. They're a completely different pickup, but these ones might actually be P90s. And yeah, I don't know. I like it. It suits my playing much better. But yeah, enough rambling for now. Let's hear some tones. Let's hear how it sounds. And then we'll jump back in and kind of continue with the rest of the video. So I'm going to play the guitar clean through my Mother Pre, running into some Sines, amps, IRs. Then we're going to use a bit of overdrive with the JHS Not a Clon and kind of turn the gain up on the Mother a bit, get that thing cranking. And then lastly, we're going to use my vintage tall font Big Muff to do some classic shoegazy fuzz tones. So yeah, let's do it. Now, why is this guitar so popular? Well, I've been seeing these guitars around for ages. YouTube videos, Instagram posts, Reddit posts. I have to sneeze. Am I going to sneeze? Oh, bless me. Thank you. It's like that. You guys seen that video? The American footballer, he sneezes and he's like, "Bless you, thank you." Anyway, I've been seeing these guitars around a lot online and in person. I play a lot of shows. Maybe not a lot, but I play a fair amount of shows, and I've played a lot of shows over the years, and I've seen so many of these things pop up. And I've often wondered why people love them so much. And I've kind of come down to a few reasons. The first one, and probably the biggest one, is that Jazzmasters are in, right? For the last few years, Jazzmasters have been very in. Offsets, in general, have been very in. Now, they've always had their popularity, not when they were released, is this guitar that started off as a failed release from Fender. I'm sure you all know the history of the Jazzmaster, but, it was adopted by the surf guys. Obviously, it was made for the jazz guys. They hated it. The surf guys used it for a bit, and then everyone stopped using them. And then in kind of the 80s, the kind of new wavy alt-rocky guys started picking them up in pawn shops for cheap, of which J Mascis was one of them, but Elvis Costello, a lot of those kind of guys. And then, they were cheap, no one was playing them, so people started picking them up. But then, hey, they look cool, they have a certain sound. And, the shoegazers got on top of them, the, My Bloody Valentine, that sort of thing. And then they had a resurgence in the grunge and the kind of alt-rock of the 90s, and they've kind of only ever grown in popularity since then, and really recently, within the last 5 to 10 years, I'd say, Jazzmasters in general have blown up. They're almost, in the Fender lineup, Jazzmasters are almost third now, below the Strat and the Tele. They're kind of so popular that they're almost on that same echelon, but not quite. And I definitely think that has had a part to play in why this model has been so popular. Another reason that people might like them is that this is a great modding platform. It's a great guitar it's a great guitar in its own right. I'll get to my thoughts soon, but it's also the perfect platform for modding. That's partially why I got it. I had my Troy Van Leeuwen Jazzmaster, but that almost felt too expensive to mod. I was like, I could probably sell it, make a bit of money, buy a Squire or a cheap one and mod that. And that's probably what I will do with this one. But honestly, I'm enjoying playing this guitar so much just on its own that I might not do that. But regardless, we'll get to my thoughts later. This is a great modding platform. It's a great, place to try some, pickups, put an aluminium neck on it, maybe swap out the vibrato unit for something a bit better. People like modding guitars, and this is a great one to mod because it's got great bones and it's a great guitar in its own right. The next reason why I think they're so popular is price to a certain degree. These guitars aren't the cheapest of all guitars that exist. Even in the Squire lineup, you could probably get a comparable guitar in the Squire 40th anniversary Jazzmasters that they released a while ago. There are, and even then, the Fender Player 2 made in Mexico Jazzmasters were released not too long ago. And I'm talking in Australian dollars here. I haven't done the research to look up how much this would be in America or whatever, but this retails for $900, whereas you can get the Player 2 Fender Jazzmaster for $1,200 thereabouts. And if you were to buy one of these new, wouldn't have a rosewood fretboard, but the Player 2s do. And so I think the price is decent for the guitar you get, but you could also upgrade a little bit if you care about it saying Fender on the headstock. Just pay a little bit more money and you've got a guitar that says Fender and with all the kind of some nice touches. You could also go slightly cheaper than this one and have a bit more extra money to mod the guitar. This kind of sits in a little limbo spot, but I think a lot of people like myself are buying them secondhand. There's so many of them and they pop up secondhand online so regularly that if you're willing to be patient and kind of hunt around for a good deal, you can get one pretty good. I got this for a pretty good price, especially considering that it's got the rosewood. These ones with rosewood fretboards are often going for a lot more than kind of post an Indian Laurel version. So yeah, I think price has something to do with it, but it's not the be all and end all. I think the real reason people actually love these guitars and play these guitars is it's become cool to do so. I think so many people are playing them, and there's a stigma in guitar world around, cheap guitars. You want something cool, you want something nice, you want something flashy. Like Epiphones have got this real stigma around them. People just don't play them. I'm not too bold. I can admit that I don't love Epiphones, and I don't know if I would love to play one live. But Squires, Squires are cool. Like I have another Squire that I play live all the time, and I will play this one live. I haven't had a chance to gig it yet, but I plan on gigging it. But there's no shame in that. It's become cool. Like Kevin Parker from Tame Impala plays one of these fucking guitars live. I think he has like a Roland MIDI synth thing installed on it. But, for like the end of like Let It Happen, he'll play one of these. And I think that's cool. It's become cool to play these guitars. And if there's one thing guitarists love, it's like, the hive mind... The guitar hive mind has said it's okay and it's acceptable to play this cheap guitar, so I'm going to play this cheap guitar. I'm not calling everyone sheep, because I'm doing the same thing. Fuck me, right? But, I think there is a certain coolness around these guitars, and there's a certain hype around them too, and I think everyone's just getting swept up in that a little bit, because as guitarists, we certainly love a bit of hype. Now, what do I think about this guitar? I probably gave it away a bit before. I think it's great. The edges of the fretboard are rolled, no sharp fret, or maybe not rolled, but the frets aren't sharp. It feels very nice to play. The neck is a really comfortable C shape, and it's really nice and smooth and satin on the back, which is not what I expected. I was expecting a real kind of glossy feel, but it's got this smooth satin on the back. I love the pickups. I think they're really cool. One of the first thing I was going to do was I was going to change all the electronics. I was going to get a new pick guard just to throw in there. But sounds really cool. I'll probably still do that at some point, but sounds so good and is so like usable for me personally that I think it's just perfect. I've unintentionally gotten a guitar with P90s, which is something I didn't have on P90s. Let's call them P90s. That I didn't have before. It's got the 1 meg pot. It's kind of cool. I want to put an aluminium neck on this thing at some point, but that's a kind of down the road thing. As a guitar on its own, as it is completely stock, it is a great, great guitar. This bit is okay. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst. It holds its tune pretty well. And as long as you get these guitars set up, like these kind of Squires, you only need to spend a little bit of money to get it set up in a way that'll make it play amazingly, and then if you want to mod it a bit, you can mod it a bit, and yeah, it's all good. Like these guitars are so slept on by the kind of bourgeoisie of the guitar world. Everyone likes to just shit on Squires, but I think they've got really something going for them. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I think the J Mascis Jazzmaster is a great guitar for the price. It's not the cheapest, but it's also not the most expensive. It's a good kind of middle point. But, just in general, not even for the price, it's just a great playing, great sounding guitar, in my opinion. But let me know in the comments, what did you think of it? How do you think it sounds? Do you have one? Do you love it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know. And is there any other kind of cheaper guitars that you think are a bit slept on? Something that's maybe a little under the radar that you think deserves a kind of modern classic standard. Squire has really kicked it out of the park with quite a few guitars. They've had a few guitars kind of take on lives of their own and become kind of, legendary in their own right. Like, I know a lot of the Squires from like the Japanese Squires from like the 80s and stuff, and I think there was even some American Squires. Those go for crazy prices. They're known for being really good quality, especially the Japanese stuff. I mean, I love Japanese guitars, and I'll be the first one to tell you that oftentimes they are better than the American guitars. Fight me if you think I'm wrong, nerds. And like the Squire Jazzmaster baritones have had a life of their own. They're really cool. But yeah, if you have any thoughts or any questions or want to tell me about your J Mascis Jazzmaster, let me know in the comments. Tell me, why do you think it's so popular? I mean, I feel like I hit some points, but yeah, I'm happy to hear some other perspectives. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video. Fuck off.